the big questions are, does it still hold up and is it worth watching? This is Friends in 2026, which is very different to when it came out in the mid-90s to the early 2000s. And yes, I think it's still worth watching and I think it still holds up. And I'll explain to you why. So, at the end of last year, sort of towards the back end of 2025, we started rewatching Friends for the first time in a couple of years. It's one of those things that we usually have on a rotation, like a sitcom rotation, where we'll have something like Friends, we'll have Gilmore Girls, we'll have Brooklyn Nine-Nine, we'll have Big Bang Theory, that kind of style of show where we can just stick it on in the background, go about our business, and pay attention once in a while when we know a good bit is coming up. But this time we really tried to sit down and focus on the stories, the writing, the characters, everything like that, everything that goes into making the show before it left Netflix in the UK at the end of December. So it's been, well, a month now since I've finished watching this, and I've had time to really think about it. And so, yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you. I'd be really interested to know what you think of Friends and if you've watched it recently. I think for me, it's one of those things that if you watched it growing up, which I did, or so you're kind of that millennial Gen X in the 30s, 40s kind of age range now, and you watched it when you were growing up, or perhaps like your older siblings did, something like that, I think you'd still enjoy it now, but I don't see it bringing in any new viewers, purely because of how dated it is. And yeah, there are a lot of things in there that are dated, a lot of stereotypes, which are not okay. A lot of the jokes and things don't land in the way that they would have in 1995, purely because we have learned that those things are wrong and, you know, you shouldn't say them. And that's a good thing. The way that society has moved on from those things is good. But if you take it in the context of what was kind of the social norm of those stereotypes at the time, I think is actually quite well written. I can see, you know, everything around that time was all pretty much the same. You're looking at some of the other things like Frasier, The Simpsons, that kind of thing that was around in the 90s, especially sort of late 90s. They all had similar jokes, but Friends itself felt kind of progressive, which if you haven't sort of seen it, or if you're kind of one of those people that thinks maybe it's, you know, you should just put it to bed and forget about it, you're probably thinking, well, that's wild, right? But they had like, you know, gay lesbian relationships like openly in there. There was people that they came across as masculine, but actually they showed affection and care for one another. And those things, you know, they weren't always on TV when I was growing up. So that's an interesting takeaway for me, at least. But I think genuinely, it actually sitting down and watching it, I genuinely enjoyed it. And like I said, I can separate myself and say, right, I know that that was wrong. I'm not going to laugh at that joke because I don't find that sort of thing funny. I don't think you should be putting down, you know, perhaps there's a joke about a gay person, for example, and I'm not going to laugh at that. But as a general kind of thing, there are a lot of moments in Friends which are funny, and definitely a lot of enjoyable things throughout it, like some side characters which are just reoccurring and they keep coming up, and there's some fantastic cameos. You've got people like Bruce Willis, Brad Pitt, people that you wouldn't expect. You know, I think so, like Winona Ryder's in it. There's just tons. Everybody from the 90s is in Friends. I think it was probably one of those things that if you were like called to come and do an episode of Friends, you kind of said yes no matter what they wanted you to do, because of just how massive it was. What a phenomenon it was at the time. So you do get these actors doing things that you wouldn't necessarily expect from them. I think they really pushed the boundaries on what they could get these kind of A-listers to do, and that's some of the best moments in the whole thing. Really, really good. So definitely worth checking out if you can find it anywhere. Like I said, it's left Netflix in the UK, and I think you can only buy it on like Amazon or something now. Now, I don't have a copy on my shelf. It is something that I probably wouldn't get, even though I do really enjoy it. I wouldn't say I love it, but it's definitely nostalgic enough for me that if it were to come onto another streaming service, I'd probably watch it again, like in a couple of years' time, once it gets to that point in the rotation, you know. So I'm going to talk a bit about the characters themselves, because we know and love all of the characters, and I'm going to just give you my opinions on them, and I'd love to know if you agree, disagree on what. So we'll start with Rachel. So Rachel is a funny one for me, where obviously she is Jennifer Aniston, right? She's a very beautiful woman, and they do play into that quite a lot. Because why wouldn't you? It's right there, low-hanging fruit and all that. But her character development throughout the whole thing, I thought was really good. Particularly when she starts to get her career on track and she gets the job in fashion, and she starts getting the assistant like tag. I think it's a tag. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting it already. But yeah, like once that sort of side of her comes out and she stops being the waitress and being sort of this not dumb but kind of useless, spoiled brat kind of person, and she really evolves into being Rachel. You know, she moves in with Joey. Their relationship's really good. I know they got together. People didn't like that, but I think it kind of made sense because Joey's a sweet guy. She was in that kind of headspace, and yeah, it's just one of those storylines that they moved on from pretty quickly. But I think as a character, I quite enjoy that overall, and I think she did get the right ending as well. It was always going to happen, I think, but genuinely, people didn't know what was going to happen on the last episode, if Ross and Rachel would ever get together. And I just thought, you know, I'm a fan of Rachel. I think she's all right. And yes, they were on a break. I can confirm. We watched it again. We paid attention. They were definitely on a break. Who was on the break? Well, it was Ross. And Ross is the next character I want to talk about. So Ross is sometimes very funny. Some of my absolute favorite episodes and favorite moments are Ross moments, but he's also a massive dick. So he gets a lot of the jokes, and because of that, he does say a lot of the stuff that people may find offensive as well. He's not a great person generally. There's a lot of things about him which are very dislikable, but he's got the episodes where he's like the pivoting of the sofa, the lift and slide of his car, just putting on a British accent when he's teaching, the face, the kind of like thinking face where he's kind of like, he knows he's in the wrong, but he's like, maybe I can get away with this. Like, there are a lot of funny moments with Ross, but generally he is a dick. So he's probably my least favorite of the friends, despite having some of the funniest moments. So in our tier system, we've currently got Ross at the bottom, Rachel just above. And that's who we're on. Next up, we'll talk about Chandler. Now, Matthew Perry, bless him, you know, tragically passed away, and you can tell when you actually sit and watch it just how difficult things were for him while he was playing Chandler. And it's one of those things where he has some really good storylines, and then he'll just sort of drift away, and like he'll be put in the background, move to Tulsa, or something will go in some sort of way that meant maybe he's not needed as much. And it's a real shame, because Chandler's a good character. Again, he's got some problematic things, but that comes with a lot of the jokes that he gets to tell. But he also can be kind of sweet. And one of my favorite moments or episodes is his proposal with Monica. So his proposal to Monica, but she also proposes to him. In, you know, she can't get through it, but yeah, his proposal episode is really, really good. The fact that he's trying to like throw her off the scent and be this guy that doesn't believe in marriage, but actually, he's about to propose, and then you've got the whole like thing with Richard where he almost loses her, and that's really emotional. That's actually really, really well done. That really shows off Chandler as a person, and he definitely does care. Obviously, he's been through a traumatic time with his parents, and he uses humor to sort of mask what he's really feeling, and I think that's quite relatable for quite a few people. So Chandler, he can go on our list above Rachel. He's decent. I like Chandler, even if some of the things, his stories, they don't always lead in the direction you think, mostly because of what a rough time he was having filming the thing, and he does get phased out. I gotta say, when he has Eddie, the roommate, me and my wife, we always talk about the goldfish cracker. If you're familiar with that one, it's like, well, that's not even a real fish. We always quote that one. He's got some really quotable one-liners, and I love the episode as well when he tells Monica that he loves her, and she's got the turkey on her head, and also the bit that he gets with when everybody knows about him and Monica, and like Phoebe's trying to seduce him. So good, so good. So yeah, we're going to put Chandler above Rachel, and then we're going to talk a bit about Monica. So we mentioned Monica, and she at the very beginning is this kind of cool chick. I don't know, I don't really know what vibe they were going for, but she was definitely supposed to be quite cool and like casual, and they just regressed her massively. She went through a huge dip where she became like the obsessive cleaner, and everything had to be right, and they kind of made fun of that. It didn't really work for me. I don't know, it just didn't feel, it was just it wasn't great. I can't really find the words, but something about it didn't sit right in my mind. And you've got the whole like overweight Monica in the flashbacks and stuff. They do a lot of jokes about that kind of thing. Again, something that is, something you shouldn't joke about, but there's a lot of Monica stuff, like when she's a chef and everyone's like really mean to her. She does go through an awful lot of horrible, like, she's the brunt of the jokes quite a lot of the time. It's not nice, but also as a character, just generally, this way that she regresses into that sort of stereotype, it's just not my favorite. But when she then comes out of the other side of it, when she marries Chandler and they kind of almost aren't sure what to do with her, I guess, when they're kind of settled down, she does sort of grow back into a much more likable character for me. So Monica, just below Chandler, around Rachel. They're pretty similar. Maybe Monica below Rachel, but that's where we're talking. And then we've got my two faves. So we'll go with number 2, Joey Tribbiani. He is something. In the beginning, Joey is seen as this kind of lovable, dumb ladies' man, like super, super cool. Like he's the cool one compared to Chandler. They're best friends. Chandler's funny. Joey's like cool and attractive. But throughout the whole thing, he's just portrayed as kind of dumb, but he's such a sweetheart. Like everything about him is just lovely. He is one of those people that when I was younger, I was like, okay, I want to be like Joey. I want to be super cool like him. But also, he does show a lot of vulnerability throughout the thing, throughout all the series, really. And I think that's really shown when he's got his penguin, the little like huggable penguin, his teddy that he ends up giving to Rachel's baby and things. And he just wants love. It's just Joey. It's just Joey things. He does get away with, when he's trying to cover for Monica and Chandler, and it's like, I'm Joey, I'm disgusting, and people believe him, but actually he's a really good friend. And he just showed I think when I was growing up, at least, it was a character on TV who he told his friends that he loved them. He'd hug them, like he'd kiss them. He'd like always be there for them. I just think he's a really good character overall, and it's such a shame because they did give him a spin-off show just called Joey, and it's such a shame that that just fell flat. I watched a couple of episodes of that. It's not really something that I watched them when it first came out. I couldn't get into it at all, like most people, and it's not something that I'm thinking is on my watch list to watch in the future either. I think we can leave the Joey show where it is, and that is well alone. But Joey, I absolutely love. I think he's just lovable. One of my favorite bits of Joey would be when he makes Chandler get in the box and isn't allowed to say anything, and he's like, you have to be serious. Like, this means a lot, this you being in this box, because when he got locked in the entertainment cabinet, he felt so bad. He's the reason that the chick and the duck are as prominent as they are. Like, he's just all round lovable. Like I said, Joey Tribbiani, number 2 of the 6 friends in my list, which leaves only one. The absolute best, the best friend in Friends is Phoebe. I don't care what you say. You can say who your favorite is in the comments, but for me, Phoebe will always be number 1. I don't even know where to begin. She has been through so much when she's a kid, and then finding out about her mother and her dad, her brother, giving birth to her brother's babies, and just her wild career arcs of like being a masseuse and a caterer and singing at the coffee shop, and she's just always out there being herself. The thing that sums it up best for me is when she's doing running. Rachel is really embarrassed to run with Phoebe because Phoebe is a free spirit. She just runs the way that she would when she's a kid. She doesn't care what people think. She's caring and kind. You know, it's just, she's also like that person that she'll lie and she'll try and get her way. I don't think she's ever like malicious with it, but you know, it's one of those things that you've all got a friend like that where it's like, Phoebe, do you actually want to say this thing but you're trying to be nice? She's like, well, no. Like with Rachel moving back in after the fire to the thing when to the flat. So the flat had 2 rooms, and with the fire in the flat, the room had to be put back into one big room again. And she goes in and she's like, and it has a skylight, wow. And yeah, so she's like, oh, well, maybe we should look for something else. Like, Phoebe, do you want me to stay with Joey? Because you can have this place. And, you know, she's just great. And there's also a really good, like, thing that sums up Phoebe about how loyal and amazing she is when she's doing the charity box with us, like for Santa and stuff, and she's trying to mark her territory and she's just shouting at people because she's a badass and she lived on the streets, but actually she's just wants to like keep her spot and make money for charity. So there's all these sides to Phoebe. There's probably loads and loads of great examples, but every time she comes on screen, and like I think she's one of the funniest as well. Just fantastic, 10 out of 10, top of the tree, Phoebe Buffay, without a shadow of a doubt. There is obviously a special shout out needed for the side characters, like Janice. Every time she pops up, like just hearing her voice, like makes me smile. Like I know they play on it, like, but it's just so well delivered. So she's just like, hello in the background, and you just like, oh, like Chandler's like whole body just tenses up because he knows that she's in the area, and that laugh as well. And there's so many good like side characters. Gunther is super creepy. Let's not get into him, but yeah, Friends. I mean, what can I say? Like, we've sat and we've gone through a few of the like best moments of the Friends, but there are so many. And yes, they didn't get it right every time, but for something that's made like at the time it was made, and for it to have spanned for 10 seasons or however many episodes, and just be as popular then, and even now it's still popular, right? It's just something that is really, really difficult to replicate. I mean, some of my favorite sitcoms and things like that will never reach the heights of Friends in terms of popularity. And yes, they may be better written, they may have better characters, they may be less problematic, but Friends is just, it's way up there as something that I feel like will always be a part of some cultural phenomenon, especially for people of a certain age. Like I said, I don't think if someone were to pick it up and watch it today for the first time that they really get into it, purely because you have to have that nostalgia factor, even if it's like, oh, I remember the 90s. So you have to really be part of that sort of generation in order to sort of understand it, feel slightly relatable. I mean, I am older now than the Friends were in the thing, but I can still get the kind of, going for the career, settling down with family, that kind of thing. Everything they experienced throughout the show is relatable to me now, so that's why it's worth watching to me. So overall, what do I think? Well, it's definitely a comfort show. It's always going to be one of mine. It's definitely not something that's got continuity. So there'll be some things that happen in some episodes that may not match up with others. I don't think they really thought about that when they were making hundreds of episodes, but you have to kind of take it. It's one of those things, you could just watch one random episode and enjoy it. You could sit and watch it from the beginning to end and have that overarching story. It doesn't really matter. Take it for what it is, and that is just something you can sit and enjoy, have a bit of a laugh, and just take your mind off something for 20 minutes. It really doesn't matter. It's not anything stressful. It's not anything deep, really. Yes, it has some themes that may be, but generally speaking, it's just fun. And that is why I enjoy it. And that is why it's what I watched. So let me know. What do you think of Friends? And I'm going to go and watch something new. I think I've put my sitcoms to one side for right now anyway. The thing we are watching through currently, which you're going to find interesting but terrible, is Pretty Little Liars. I've never seen Pretty Little Liars before. I'm going to make a video about it, don't worry. So make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my videos. That one's not coming up soon. That's going to be a couple of months' time, I'm sure, because there are so many of those to watch, and they all seem like they're the same. But yeah, I'm having fun, and I'm having fun making these videos as well. So thank you so much for watching. Friends, always there for you.